There's three elements to the Ravens. There's actually way more than three, but three that make them super dangerous and really, really good. The first one is the obvious one, Lamar Jackson. He's going to be the MVP of the league this year. He's going to be named MVP of the league. Here is DeMeco Ryans yesterday on how you approach stopping Lamar Jackson.
Hey, you can throw as many things at Lamar as you want to, but he finds a way to make plays. That's what makes him a special player. And no matter what type of looks he's gotten on tape, right? He's made a ton of teams pay because of just his playmaking ability, right? He's seen a lot, made a lot of plays, so it's going to be a challenge no matter what we present or what we throw at him.
Yeah, and he's well, I think Monken and him have a nice thing going this year.
The big thing is that the Texans really haven't faced a slew of dual threat quarterbacks this year. Kyler Murray was not himself. I think he was tired physically by the end of that game, and B, he was adjusting to a new offense. Yeah. So I don't really put him in that same category.
They face some slippery quarterbacks, but none that attack you with the running attack like Lamar Jackson. Right. Where you're designing stuff.
And in fairness to Lamar Jackson, very few dual threat quarterbacks are anything like Lamar Jackson.
That's right.
I think he's very, very strong as well as fast, obviously. Yeah. I don't think he's as fast as he was before his injuries, but still, it doesn't matter. He's still more athletic than just about anybody out there. But he's also now, I think the one big thing that he's doing this year that people weren't sure about was attacking outside the numbers. Because there'd always be look, he had trouble throwing outside the numbers. And people would show highlight reels of various throws he had made outside the numbers and act like, well, look, he can do it. No, people weren't saying he couldn't ever do it. It was that he didn't consistently do it well. So that gets easier to game plan for when you got a guy who's got limitations in certain areas of the field. What he's been able to do with Todd Monken as his offensive coordinator is he's been much more adept at attacking every area of the field. So that when you can't just ignore parts of the field, then obviously becomes a whole lot harder to account for everything else that Lamar Jackson can do. The other thing that I don't think quite comes across in the numbers is the fact that they're a tight end heavy passing game. They're not routinely taking the top off of defenses with the pass game, but they can move the chains through a combination of the pass game and the run game and the quarterback run game and just play good, solid football. And that's where it's the intimidation factor is one of just almost the completeness of the football team.
They've got Mark Andrews designated to return from IR.
Yeah.
He's on the injury list yesterday as limited with an ankle with a designation to return. So he's not officially back yet. He's in that practice window right now where they're evaluating him to come back. But in his absence, Isaiah Likely has become a nice target for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
So if you get Andrews and Likely out there on the field together, that is really taxing the Texans linebackers and safeties in this game.
Yeah, I wonder, if you're going to look at the old debate between rustiness and sharpness and the fact that the Ravens will have basically had 3 weeks off by the time they play this football game, I don't know if there's any validity to it. But if there is, man, striking early would be a really, really good thing for multiple reasons in this game. Because the Ravens have been so good, they have not played from behind much at all. They've had a lead for much of the season, in percentage of quarters that they've had a lead this season is really high. They haven't had to come back for more than 7 points in a game. So if there is any rust to be had, man, that quick strike that they've started to get better and better at over these last few weeks since CJ came back, the quick strike would be really, really, this would be a perfect time to use it.
I think there's an argument to take the ball if you win the coin toss.
Yeah, okay, I see that now.
There's an argument.
Yeah, okay, whatever rust they might have, let's go ahead and test them now.
Let's get points out of it.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah. Just, I think there's an argument. The Texans have won the coin toss like the last 4 games, and they defer every time. So we know when it's a percentages situation, DeMeco chooses to take the ball in the second half. But I'm with you. I think getting a lead in this game would be big. I think maybe you take the crowd out of the game a little bit, all those things. And you have an offense that you can trust with the football on an opening drive. Mm-hmm. You're not just doing it because we're sitting here saying hey, you got to take the lead early in the game. Go ahead, Brock Osweiler. Go get us a touchdown.
Right.
You're putting one of the best quarterbacks in football over the last month out there on the field.
That's a sneaky advantage the Texans have is that, look, they've got very good coaches over there, as the Texans have. In a lot of ways, this is a Bobby Slowick versus McDonald, the defensive coordinator of the Ravens, who's himself a candidate for a lot of coaching jobs. But there's way more film on Lamar Jackson. Not in this Todd Monken offense, but historically, you've got a lot more of, he's more of a known quantity. Yeah. Even though he's different in this offense, he's more of a known quantity. And I wonder if some of the tendencies and some of the things that they might think about him are more of an advantage for the Texans than you have on C.J. Stroud. That's where I'm gonna roll with that, Sean. Yeah, I like the quick strike for rustiness, and the fact that C.J. Stroud is still a developing quarterback whose tendencies are not written in stone as of yet.
All right, let's get to the defensive side. You mentioned Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator. The Lamar Jackson, big linchpin for the Ravens. I think there's two on defense. There's actually several on defense. Their defensive line's really good with Matt Abuike. The engine that makes their defense go are the two inside linebackers. Yeah. I'm combining into one person right now. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, or as I like to call them, Roquatrick Queen Smith. Yeah. But here is D'Amico Ryans on their two inside linebackers.
Yeah, Roquan and Patrick, they're a dynamic duo. You talk about Roquan, he's just solid in every aspect of just being a true linebacker, right? Really taking on that role of Ray Lewis in that defense. I've always liked Roquan since he was at Georgia. Thought he was an exceptional playmaker, sideline to sideline linebacker, and plays a physical brand of football that kind of you start to miss it in the game. But Roquan, he plays physical sideline to sideline, so really pops off the tape. And then you have Patrick, right? He's another guy who can. You talk about covering, you talk about covering up grass. Like, he can run all across the field, and he can make plays as well. So, they do a really good job playing off of each other. And I think Mike has done a great job putting them in position to make plays.
As one of our listeners reminded me this morning, Mike McDonald has actually coached in 2 games versus C.J. Stroud because he was the Michigan coordinator. So he's 2-0 versus C.J. Stroud. But C.J.'s also seen him twice.
Yep.
The other would be that as long as the Texans don't try to force the ball to Rex Burkhead on third down, then Roquan Smith can't completely destroy us.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Referring to the interception in the Chicago when he was a member of the Chicago Bears
when the go-to guy, the gotta-have-it guy, Rex Burkhead, short of the sticks on third down, was targeted by Davis Mills and threw a pick six.
Yeah.
So that was when he was in Chicago, and then that was
traded a few weeks later.
Roquan Smith was traded and became kind of the catalyst to the Ravens looking a lot more like a classic Ravens defense.
Yeah, they're that rare defense where it feels like they're the engine that makes them go are 2 off-ball linebackers.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Patrick Queen is a free agent this year, I
believe,
he
is. Yeah, he's on the list, man.